This is the Kinera Celest Rue, and this might be the most affordable set of IEMs that they churn out. In fact, it's definitely a very simple set. So much so, even the unboxing experience, I mean, it doesn't really leave you wanting because you get everything you need in it. But yeah, it's definitely not the most premium set that they make. But what you do get in the box is you do get the IEMs, of course. These do come in different colors. These are definitely very nicely finished with the little name over there. You do get the cable that is terminated to a 0.78 mm connector at the side of the IEMs, and the other side, of course, does have a 3.5 mm audio jack, which you can plug into your computer or your dongle DAC, of course. And another thing that's interesting is that this also does have a little module here with the Celest brand name there. But the other side does have a button to control play, pause, and also it does have a microphone. So if you are planning on using or picking up the microphone variant, here's a quick demo to show you how the microphone will sound carried over to your recipients, of course. So the audio you're hearing right now is coming from the microphone of my phone right in front of me. So it should give you a sense of how your phone's microphone sounds. And I have plugged in the Rue into a DAC with a microphone pass-through. So it should hand over to this, of course, and you will hear that difference. So I'm plugging this in right about now. And yeah, recording audio through headset. It's just handed over. So this is pretty much the overall vocal tonality you'll be able to hear coming, or should I say going to any recipient. You are sitting in the reviewer seat right now. You are the recipient. This is how anyone you talk to over a phone call or while you're gaming is going to be able to hear you. Now, no doubt this microphone is here. In fact, I've seen some microphones that are a little lower down away from the mouth. So those, I presume, won't be as clear as this. This is much closer, of course, and no doubt if you do lift this up and talk into the microphone, the audio might clip, or it might, I don't know if the phone adjusts it, but this is pretty much how it'll sound if it's closer. But yeah, I mean, if it sounds better like this, you can use it like this, of course. So anyway, I do hope that this quick demo has given you a better understanding for this IEM's microphone, of course. And let's jump into how these sound. These come with tiny 6 mm dynamic drivers, have a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz, and have a very easy to drive low resistance of just 16 ohms. And honestly, that 6 mm driver kind of is proof, it is testament to if a driver is tuned well enough, it's going to be able to handle a lot of bass. So I will get to that very soon. But coming to this one's volume, when it comes to its overall volume, it's very easy to drive, like I did mention, resistance such as 16 ohms. And I usually have not gone past maybe the 20-25% mark while listening to these. It gets very loud over there for me, so I do not go beyond that. If you are somebody who dislikes listening to loud music, I wouldn't say go beyond, definitely don't go beyond 40% because it'll be too loud. And if you do intend on preserving your hearing, listening to loud sounds over prolonged periods of time will ensure that you lose your hearing, of course. When it comes to its soundstage, it stages like most other IEMs in the same price range. I mean, everything is on a horizontal plane. I didn't really hear much vertical stage or presence over there, but it does have good left and right separation with a dead center phantom channel, of course. You might get the occasional sound that seems like it's appearing from a little further out, but this does occur very rarely, in fact. Moving on to its imaging, well, its overall detail recovery is surprisingly good. In the sense, I think it does as well as most other IEMs do in the same price range. This entire price range for IEMs is flooded with very good sounding equipment. So if you're looking for detailed recovery, these are fine. But no doubt, if you want something sharper, you'll have to reach into a more premium price segment, of course. But this is more than good enough. Moving on to its highs, mids, and lows. Well, when it comes to its highs, it does manage to maintain a good level of composure. I was expecting this to be tweaked to an extent where it would be a little too shrill, but it's just right. It's just supple enough. It's to really enjoy without getting fatigued. But one thing I do want to mention is I have spent time breaking these in or burning them in. I know it might seem crazy doing it with a set of IEMs that cost as little as these. I have never had to do this, in fact, with a set of IEMs as affordable as these are. Burn-ins, I've normally found a lot of IEMs in the maybe 5,000 to 10,000 onward price range to sound a little restricted, and usually a burn-in tends to open those up very well. This also did sound like it was holding back a bit, and it sounded very boomy. So I was like, let's burn it in and see. So after doing that, in fact, it's got a little better. By better, I mean a little better defined. It's got slightly better posture in the high frequencies. It's not as forward as it was when I first unboxed it. So I'd say, I mean, if you do pick these up, definitely do a run-in, and I mean, compare your notes with when it's straight out of the box and 24 hours or 50 hours later, and just see if there's a difference to you as well. Mid-range is a bit on the recess side, which is, I've come to expect with a lot of IEMs now. Everybody's following a very similar sort of signature now, because I mean, a lot of people do like recess mids with elevated highs and elevated bass. But there is a good amount of separation here between vocals and instruments. But there are times when I do feel that some vocals don't sound as rounded as I'd like. In the sense, some can sound as if they are a little too guttural, in the sense there seems to be an elevation in the lower mid-range. So this is definitely different sounding compared to a lot of other IEMs that have a aggressive dip in the lower mids and then boosted lower frequencies. So it's nice that it's a little bit different, but because of that, some vocals don't sound rounded, they sound boxy. So it also depends on the recording you're listening to, of course. That will make a big difference, of course, with your overall music. But I mean, despite that, there is good separation over here with vocals instrument. It is a fun listen, no doubt. But again, because of that tuning in the mids, I found myself leaning more towards more acoustical music than vocal music. Even if it's choral music, it just sounds a little boxy in the lower mid-range to me. Moving on to the lower frequencies, this is where I think this is a very impressive set of IEMs, especially considering the fact that it's got a tiny 6mm driver. Despite having such a small driver, this thing has a very prominent lower frequency range, and I think a lot of people will like it because, I mean, it does seem to handle, kick drums, or even if you're listening to electronic music, the lower frequency rumbles, it does handle it very well. I myself am not a fan of bass. I do prefer a flatter response, or should I say more of a studio tuning where it is slightly recessed, especially if your driver is capable of doing this. Now this is a very capable driver for lower frequencies despite that size of the dynamic driver, and it does sound full, it does sound large and enveloping. But yes, there are times where it can lean over to sounding a little bit boomy. Again, it depends on how your recording and mix is handled. If some things are a little too elevated, it's going to be sounding very boomy. So I do prefer much better recordings, in the sense stuff you get with jazz and blues. Those are normally recorded very well, very finely sort of mixed tracks to make sure that you hear the cleanest sound over there. With that kind of stuff, it's a little more controlled. It's not as it doesn't sound as exaggerated with those kind of tunings. But the minute you do 80s rock, the minute you do 90s music, the minute you start doing electronic stuff from new age stuff, it does get very large and can lean towards sounding a little boxy in the lower frequencies as well. But I can see a lot of people enjoying this, especially if you're just getting into the hobby, because this also, of course, does come at a very reasonable price. So coming to the price, if you do want to buy these, well, this is available online. I will leave the link down below for you. I'm looking at the KineraAudio.com website, and this is going for about $14.99 US right now. I don't know if they'll have sales and all. If it is available in India, I will leave some of those links down below. But hang on, this is the one with the one without mic is $14.99. The one with mic is $15.99. And one thing to keep in mind is it comes in different colors. So you get black, pink, yellow, and purple as well. So you can, of course, choose the color that suits you best. I'd say it's a good starting range set of IEMs. Especially if you're looking for something with a little slightly heavier bass. It's definitely one of the more affordable sets of IEMs there, and this is, I think, the most affordable set from the Kinera Audio brand. So honestly, for something that costs as much as this, sounding this good, every IEM in this price segment, just it's amazing that they can sound as detailed as they do. So it is a interesting time that we live in, of course, and I don't think you can go wrong with this, especially if you do like heavier bass and a little bit of detail. And despite that heavy bass, it doesn't eat too much into the details, of course, which is quite impressive, of course. So anyway, there you have it. That's my quick review on the Q and I do hope that I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. And of course, if you would like to support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning in for some sound advice.